What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my channel, the 10K Property Report. I am Kay, and today I'm going to be focusing on a piece of land that I saw on Zillow for $8,000 that most investors may consider purchasing because of the cheap price, but I'm going to show you why I personally would not purchase this property. And let's get it. All right. So here's the property. This is a piece of land in Port Arthur, Texas. I will say that I have the address blurred out just because I don't want to impact the sale of this particular property for this homeowner or this owner. Okay. So keep that in mind. So this property is right now for sale for $8,000 and it's in Port Arthur, Texas. If you take a look at the property, you can see that the property is, first of all, let's take a look at some pictures. So here is and it's outlined, looks like by the realtor, excuse me, where the property is. So this is a piece of land. It's 0.16 acres. So 0.16 acres. It's not even a quarter acre of land, which that'll come back up in a second. So just bear with me on why that may play a role in the reason why I'm saying, this may not be a good fit. Let me enlarge those pictures so that we can see everything. And here is the photos we can see nice and clear. So you can see, and I'll show you, let me go back so I can show you the front. Actually, no, we're not there yet. You can see that this property appears to have been for sale by owner and the owner could not sell it themselves. These are things that are going through my brain, right? Why wouldn't the owner be able to sell it? And the reason why I say that is because when I zoom in, it says for sale. It looks like by owner, but that could very well be the real estate agent placing the property for sale online. And that is their board, or what should I say, like for sale sign, okay? But it does look, when I zoom in, it does look like it says for sale. Looks like an older picture, for sale by owner. And typically that's what happens. A lot of times there's a high percentage of chance that the owner will give the property to a real estate agent because they can't sell it. Okay. So keep that in mind. So you can see that it is, distressed in that it doesn't look like the grass is being cut, etc. All right. All right. So you can see an apartment complex over here. I'm going to show you street view in just a second. That may be, I think that was another indicator, not really, but it did play a small part in why I would not purchase this property personally. And you'll see the pictures in a second and we'll run down those details in just a moment. Right here, check this out. So first of all, just by looking at the photos, you can see that the parcel of land is not that large, right? So you have this fence right here. And when I looked at the GIS, the actual end, you can see some grass right here. The end of the lot lines kind of interfered with this property. All right. That has nothing to do with the reason why I wouldn't purchase this property. But those are just like little details that I pick up along the way to help me or guide me in order to make a decision on these properties. And you can see this fence is right here. You can also see there's a fence right here on the other side. Let's see if there's more pictures to see it better. All right, so 1 second. Okay, so they have more information here. This appears to be the back of the property. No, is that still the front of the property? I think so. All right. That actually looks like a completely different property. It could be sold with another property, but let's go back to the actual listing and read a little bit of information about this property and see what it's talking about. All right. So it says, what's special? All right. So vacant residential lot located in the established Port Arthur Heights area, offering an excellent opportunity for builders and investors. Ideal for new construction, infill development, or long-term hold. Convenient access to major roadways, schools, and local amenities. Package deal opportunities. So those second set of pictures were a part of the second property, which I don't know if I would buy that either, right? So sale includes an additional larger vacant lot located on the street address, providing expanded development potential. Both properties convey together and are sold as a package. Buyer to verify zoning, utilities, lot, and intended use. Okay. All right. So let's just discuss the one property and why I would not purchase the one property. Here we go. So this is, because the details really matter here, this is a parcel of land. Now, when you talk about land, you have to keep in mind or consider setbacks. So a setback basically tells you how in each city and county, they vary in what the setback should be and how a property should be built. Now, this is Port Arthur, Texas, and these are the regulations for a single family detached home in this area. Now, this is a single family home, so keep that in mind as we're talking about it. In the event that, I think the only reason or way I would purchase this property if the zoning were different. If the zoning were multi-use or mixed use or an extended use of the property outside of single family home, I think I'll be more interested. But because it's only a single family detached property that's allowed at the moment, you can get it rezoned. It's a process though, and it takes time. It made me not as, it didn't keep it as appetizing to me. Okay. So single family detached. So you see the area, the square feet, lot width, front yard, side yard, rear yard, and coverage. Okay. So all these play a factor in how much can be built on that particular parcel of land. So let's go back for a second. And as you can see, it's a tight squeeze, guys. Like, let me show you from street view what this looks like. Here we go. This is a better view so we can really get the picture of what this thing looks like. Okay. So this looks like a driveway. And as you can see, there's not much room to build. There's room to build. 0.16 acres is not shabby, right? It's not nothing. However, it's just not, it is enough room to build a home. Okay. And I'm gonna show you how I know that is because I did put it into ChatGPT. Make sure you use AI, guys. I use the dimensions that are allowed. I use the dimensions that I had as far as 0.16 acres of land, and ChatGPT created a home for me that fit those dimensions. So I know that I can build here. That's not the issue in what I found. I know that I can build. Okay. I repeat, I know that I can build a home here. The question is it worth it? All right, so let's keep going because I want to show you some comparisons in the neighborhood to show you how these properties look. And, you know, they're not big properties either, right? So they don't need a ton of space as far as land in order to build. You can build a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath property. And you see how narrow this is, right? It doesn't take up too much space. You just wouldn't have too much yard, which, depending on how you look at it, that could be a good thing, right? That means that not a lot of grass to cut, okay? So keep that in mind. But you go down, and as I'm going down the street, I want you to observe with your eyes, look at the pride of ownership in the neighborhood, look at the properties, and see if this is a neighborhood, just visually looking at it, that you would want to invest in. You see how narrow this home is as well? It's a home, and it can also be built on the parcel that we were just talking about, right? So again, building these homes look very identical. Not a problem. If you really wanted to, you can build a home that looks exactly like this, right? I don't know the dimensions of this home, but it's not too big, right? It's a small home and it works, right? It doesn't take up too much space and it works. But I do want to mention some of the things that I'm seeing in the neighborhood. And I saw, by the way, the neighborhood did not distract me at all from deciding that this was not a property for me personally. I'm looking at the bars, guys, looking at the bars on the windows, and it tells me a little bit about either the history of the neighborhood or the current state of the neighborhood. Now, I do see this property, and I don't know if they renovated it or it's just a newer property, but even so, you see this property has some bars on the window, and this is not the only property that has that. Now, let's go back up the street, and you can see, I'm not sure why this is bordered up right here. You would also need to check the flood zone if this area floods. I know this part of Texas may have a reputation of flooding or having some not environmental issues, but maybe that too. But really the flood zone is what you really want to check. And I did check that. I didn't see too many issues here. And remember, this is our subject property. I just want to go down the street because I want to show you something. Now, as we are going down the street, you can continuously see bars on the windows. Okay, and I lived in Washington, D.C. and we had bars on the schools. So the bars are not they give me some background information, but what I'm really looking for is pride of ownership. And more importantly than how things look, I look at the numbers. So if I wanted to purchase that parcel of land, build a home, either to keep or to rent out, well, the numbers have to make sense. So this is an apartment complex that I wasn't too fond of when I was going through this neighborhood. And yeah, let me go back because I really want to show you some things with regards to the neighborhood. And as you can see, let's see. All right. So like I was saying, my main concern were the setbacks. But once I put those dimensions into ChatGPT, it said, yeah, we can for sure build a house on this parcel of land. No problem. It will be a little tight, but you can build a property. But the issue came in when I'm trying to figure out comps. All right, so comps in this area are not a lot. As you can see just down that road alone, and we wouldn't just be looking at that road, we would look at a lot of different things. Let's go to Zillow for just a second. And I want to scroll all the way down for one moment. And I want to extend, let me go back up. Okay. Actually, I'll come back to this. I wanted to look at comps, but I did not see too many comps that were, it says flood zone, a FEMA zone, X shaded, a moderate risk for, okay, I'll come back to that. I didn't see too many comps that would support a new construction property. I did see one new construction home that was about 5 miles or so from the subject piece of land that was selling for $289,000. However, when running the numbers, I even had ChatGPT help a little bit here. When running the numbers for a basic rectangular home, such as the one I showed you as examples, with a simple floor plan, nothing too crazy, the home the cost to build, according to ChatGPT and other estimations that I ran, it would not be the best, okay? It definitely would not be the best. It would be roughly around $235,000 or so, okay? That would not be good for my threshold as far as a new construction home. For number one, if I wanted to keep the property and rent it out, that would not be a good rental rate in that area, okay? If the home is $235,000 and my mortgage is, I don't know, $1,200, $1,000, $1,300 as an example or more, that neighborhood, as you can see, does not support a rental rate of that sort, okay? So renting was taken out for me in question. And also, let me go back because I have a checklist. Also, renting, I said renting, but also purchasing the property. So the mortgage would be too extensive for me to even consider, okay? And selling the property would not provide a high enough yield or return on my investment in order for me to be enticed, okay? To go through the risk, guys, we purchased a piece of land and we did build a new construction home, and it is a headache. And that's if everything goes perfect as planned. And if you are new to real estate and you think that, I'll go ahead and smash that right now, because it will not go as planned. And there will be things and unexpected expenses that come up. So to go through the risk and the headache of building a new construction home on a property that, looking at the GIS, is only worth $4,500. You can build on the property. I'm not saying you can't. However, it just didn't make sense when I ran the numbers, okay? This is a quick checklist that I sometimes use, and I scored on 0 to 12. Okay, so you can get 0 to 12 points, and I'll go through it with you guys. So zoning and buildability. So you're going through the checklist, or I go through the checklist and see if it meets the criteria that I have. And if it gets a score below 10, then that's a no-go for me. All right. So this says the zoning works. So zone single family, that checks the box. It meets minimum lot width and area, no variance required, etc. So this actually got a 2, all right? And we're scoring them from 0 to 2 points for each section. Lot shape and function, this actually got a 2 as well, right? So rectangular home is very basic and simple. It would do the job here, okay? Especially on that parcel of land, all right? Build cost versus ARV, that is where it got a 0 because As I mentioned earlier, there were no comps that supported a new construction home with an after repair. ARV means after repair value, by the way, with an after repair value that would yield enough profit in the event that I want to sell it, all right, or rent it out long term. So here it got a 0, neighborhood and appraisal fit, nearby home similar in size and quality, recent sold comps. Okay, so that got a 1 for me. Not the nicest house on the block. It would be a small home because that lot size is not the largest lot size, but it works. Site risk factors here, flood risk. I'll have to look up the address, but I've already marked it out of my mind. I didn't even do any further research. Once you get used to looking at these properties, and this checklist will help you go through these properties very quickly, so you can quickly say no, and keep moving on, because you may have 5, 6 to 10 to hundreds of properties you're looking at. Okay. So I didn't look at the flood risk, to be honest with you, but I didn't need to because I already saw that the ARV was a no-go, and it would not behoove me to purchase this property and try to hold on to it and resell it later. I just don't foresee, because I looked at the comprehensive plan, I don't foresee it being a good buy and hold. Okay. Here I gave it a 1. There are no environmental issues, utilities available at street. Yeah, there are some utilities available at street. How do I know that? Because it's a residential neighborhood and I would not necessarily need to get a perk test. Okay. And like I said, all these came up to, I think, 7, a score of a 7, which for what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to hold in my portfolio, anything under a 10, I just don't use. All right. So that is my brief assessment as to why that particular piece of land would not be a good fit for me and my portfolio. Once you continue to do this and look at these very quickly, you'll start to go through them very quickly as well and know what you're looking for. All right. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you made it this far in a video, go ahead and in the comment section and put 10K. That may be my keyword for each and every one of my videos, just so I know that you made it this far, and I truly do appreciate it. Until next time, guys, you stay blessed. Peace.